everybody. So nice being with you today. So I will present Etal. So Etal Doshi holds a master's in organizational psychology from Macquarie University in Sydney, in Australia. Honours in psychology from Murdoch University, Perth, Australia, and also a Bachelor of Arts majoring in psychology from the National University of Singapore. She has been in the business of organizational psychology for several years, with a focus on consulting, training, coaching, talent selection, development, psychometrics testing, developing assessment centers, and so on. She has worked successfully with individuals of varying job levels, for instance, within the banking, services, university, oil and gas, transportation industry. Our core lies in emotional intelligence, and she seeks to identify and maximize the potential of all individuals within the workplace through gaining a deep appreciation of their personality, abilities, motivations, strengths, and challenges. So thanks a lot, Etel, for being with us today. We hope we will have we will enjoy your presentation, and we hope also that we will have a lot of questions after that and nice discussions. I let you throw the floor to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lena. Thanks, Natalie. Lena, did you want to say something?
No. The floor is yours. I'll be happy to
awesome.
be here.
So since it's a very, very intimate group, I think it'd be awesome just to get to know everybody. My name is Hetal, as Natalie has mentioned earlier. I work as an organizational psychologist. I really love my job. Really looking forward to not only living but dying as a psychologist. It's just the best thing in the world. I thought maybe if we could just get a quick intro on everybody, if also preferably if everybody could come on video, that would make this really worth it, because I did cancel a couple of flights to be here and stay here for the seminar. So I hope to get the same energy back as well for everyone who's come in. If you could kindly come on video and stay on video, that would be greatly appreciated. And maybe a quick introduction from everyone. I pass the intro to Lena. Maybe if you can tell us a little about yourself, and then you can pass the ball to another friend in the room. And maybe also just share, like, what does psychosocial risk mean personally for you? That would be awesome. So over to you, Lena.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Hetal. Let me start with myself to introduce myself to others as well. I'm Lena, currently the immediate past president of IOHA, and I work for Petronas, an energy company. Psychosocial risk. I've known Hetal for a couple of years, have worked with her indirectly, and have consulted her indirectly as well, not professionally, right? I've done work with respect to organization culture, safety culture, and I feel that psychosocial risk, there's a perspective of psychological safety, the feeling of creating that safe space for people to speak up in the workplace is very important to HSC. So I relate that a lot to psychological risk, Hetal. And when COVID came, the well-being, mental health is something that my department looks at as well. So this is a subject that is really important to us today. Yeah, so maybe I'll pass over the next introduction. I look at the names, on the chat. Maybe I call Anne. Do you have Anne here? Yeah. Oh, or we can go to Natalie, and then from there we can go to Samantha. From my screen, I can see that. Okay, Natalie, a quick introduction.
Yes, quick introduction. So thanks, Lena. So I'm Nathalie Argentin. I'm from France. I'm working in Switzerland, in fact, as a global industrial hygiene lead in a pharmaceutical company. I'm also the secretary treasurer of IOHA. So that's why I was presenting you, Etal. And in terms of psychological risk, I'm really interested in it, but it's not a topic I touch a lot in the past. So I'm more and more involved and looking to learn more.
Fantastic. Awesome. Natalie, who would you like to pass over to?
Yeah, maybe Samantha.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you, Hetal, for being with us. We really appreciate it. I am located in Switzerland. I'm on the board of the Swiss Society for Occupational Hygiene, and just recently stepped into the role of president-elect for IOHA. And in my role at work, I'm Global Health Programs Director for a chemical manufacturer. So in my team, we have industrial hygiene, occupational health, kind of this health promotion, but also employee assistance. So a piece of this kind of falls into my remit.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Awesome.
thanks,
And congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Jakes.
Hi, Ethel and everyone else. I'm Jakes Jacobs. I'm calling in from a client site in Mozambique, so you might not be able to hear me so well, and there might be a bit of a connection issue. So I might turn off my camera, Ethel, if you don't mind, after the introduction. I'm based out of South Africa. I've also served on IOHA in various roles. And what's important for me is that, and why I like the session and like to attend the session, is that occupational hygiene is broken down into 5 key stresses. Psychosocial is one of those. Sorry, I'm going to talk a bit closer to the microphone just so that you can hear me better. Psychosocial is one of those, and I think it's probably the most overlooked. The focus always is on physical, chemical, bioergonomics, so the hard sciences, and I think we've got very little schooling, if I can call it that, as occupational hygienists in the soft science of psychosocial impact of a job on workers. So I'm really looking forward to today's session.
Thank you, Jakes.
Awesome.
Yeah. We go to Matthias.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me and for the opportunity to being here. I'm industrial hygienist working for a Swiss pharmaceutical company, Biogene, and I'm also a member of the Swiss Industrial Hygiene or Occupational Hygiene Association. Now, why is this topic so important for me? We are a small EHS team, and health, environment, and safety. And well-being and mental health is extremely important, especially this year for us. As many other companies worldwide, we are also realizing that the issues related to mental health are becoming much more present and getting much more important. And we decided to run this year a mental health campaign 2022 for our employees. And we have different exercises here, different activities. We have a Balance Your Mental Health program for stress reduction, for mindfulness. We have resilience programs. We have guest lectures. And therefore, for me, it's extremely important to get as many information related to well-being and mental health. And therefore, I'm here. Yeah, thanks.
Wow, you're doing loads. There's lots of interventions there. Definitely should be attending your webinar at some point to understand like what works and what doesn't work, and what is ultimately creating the biggest impact as well. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks.
Okay, Genevieve. You're muted. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you for the invitation. I'm from Saint-Gobain, an important company, international company based in France. I'm an occupational physician since a long time now, and stress at work or well-being is not anymore an emerging issue. It's a very important issue at work, and it concerns everybody. In Saint-Gobain, we have drafted and designed a mental well-being program embedded in our health policy, and we have different tools in order to promote and prevent the well-being at work. We have obviously training, a raising program. We have indicators. We have mental well-being indicator. We have survey. We have support, cells or an organ to detect stress at work, and so on. So I'm very interested in your approach. We have a group application which consists in some information and a lot of good practices at work that all managers have to implement in their teams. So this is living now in Saint-Gobain, and our new health policy includes now mental well-being as a core issue. This is for myself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I love how you said it's no longer, in a way, no longer a side dish. It's now a main dish, right? And it has to be integrated to everything else as well. Please feel free to add as we go along, like what are the interventions that have worked for all of you, because I think we're all learning together as well. Lina, well, I would like to get passed on to everybody else, but maybe what we can do is introductions on the chat function. So if you could just kindly just share with us so we hear from everybody at the same time. So everybody can get connected to whoever they resonate with the most as well, if that's okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's get started. I hope we're all nerds for the rest of the day, just getting excited about geeking out on data, because we're going to be sharing with you quite a bit of data. I also like to tell a story, or rather make this a little bit of a story for all of our personal lives. So let's start with family, if that's okay, because I guess that's something all of us have and can resonate with. So in the chat function, if I could get all of you to tell me something as interesting as it can be. Do you have drama with your family? Is there always a bit of drama with the family? We call drama episodes like that never really seem to end. You know, you kind of try to have a great time, but then there's, you know, something that kind of happens with the family and becomes a bit dramatic. And then the next day begins, there's something great, and then there's something bad. It's like a Korean soap opera, you know, a bit of drama. So just on the chat function, do you have drama with your family? Because we're going to talk about psychosocial power, not just risk. When we talk about psychosocial power, that's a term that we have created. It's about how much of drama we have, but also how well we are coping with it. So I'm trying to balance the both, and I'm going to try and tell you a little bit of a story or an experience about all the stuff and drama and stress that we experience, but also how well we deal with it. So on the chat function, if I could get you to share just yes or no, do you experience drama with the family? Drama, stress, with the family? Okay, that's great. Only Lina, the rest. I'm wondering whether it's colloquial, whether I'm saying it in a very Malaysian or Asian way. No, very good. Oh my God, I love Anne. Endless drama, but I left the country so it's easier now. Korean soap. Okay, yes, yes, yes. I think this belongs more to Lester. Each family, sure. Every family except Anne. Anne is awesome, usually no. So Anne has what we call, she has mitigated the drama, which is a very important part in psychosocial risk management and well-being. There are two elements to it. One is eradicating the drama. So for example, my mom loses her glasses. Like I remember the first 10 years of my entire memory that I have of my mom, she's always losing her glasses. Every day as a family, we all have to find her glasses. We all lose 1 hour of our day, and we call that the drama. It just doesn't end. So that is a risk that it puts all of us under. Over a period of time, it just causes unnecessary friction amongst all of us. And psychosocial risk is then not telling my dad to go for yoga classes and breathe so that he can deal with my mom, but it's to actually terminate this issue that my mom has, which is forgetfulness. So I'm going to get all of you to be like as innovative as possible. What can I do to eliminate this drama that my mom brings to the table all the time? God bless her soul. She's the most amazing person. I love her to bits. Just using this as an example. So psychosocial risk mitigation is critical. It's not just the well-being part. What can I do to mitigate this? So anyone who gets the correct response, I'm going to give you a big round of applause. Please use your innovative hat. Actually, if we tap into this pain, which is my mom's pain right now, there is a huge business potential that comes out of it, that a company has actually created an innovative product out of it and has become super money making millions, if not billions, I think. And it's companies that really care about human pain. Apple AirTag, very good, Samantha. Very good. Take her shopping or island hopping. So there you call it like well-being, okay? We're kind of distracting it. We're trying to be friends and blah, blah, blah. But she has an issue. She needs to have that completely nipped in the bud. Going island hopping, going shopping is like well-being. But then when you come back from the island and she loses her glasses, everybody loses their mind all over again. So Samantha, congratulations. Apple AirTag was one of the innovations that came out of a very common human psychosocial risk, which is forgetfulness. And so Apple AirTag kind of, just put like a little tag on your glasses, and you can pair it with your phone. And from there, you can kind of tag and find out where your glasses are. And the same thing with your keys, the same thing with things that you lose. Psychosocial risk, again, is something all of us experience, and it puts us at risk. It's like eating unhealthy food. We love it. It causes us a lot of pain, and we kind of need to eliminate it. Well-being, on the other hand, is now my next question. So we have drama, but do you love your family, and do you keep as well as you can to keep going well as a family? Yes, no? So do you do you also do things to keep yourself well in your family and keep them well? Like, I guess going shopping, going island hopping. Yeah, right. So we call this a 2x2 matrix. I'm going to share with you what this 2x2 matrix is. How much of drama and how well are you guys? By right, actually, I would have, by right, typically before a conference, I would have gotten all of you to do an assessment so you can find out how much of risk you are in and how well you are, because it's not just one or the other, it's both happening at the same time. However, yeah, it's a bit difficult to get this done for this particular conference, yeah. But you can definitely get in touch, and we can have we can just put you through, give you a mock-up of how you can complete your assessments very quickly online. So, number one, what do we do in the space of psychosocial risk and well-being? We've kind of merged it, and we're playing in both of the spaces, and kind of scoring one goal with these two things at the same time, with majority of our clients, if not all of them. How are we measuring it? So I think in the chat function, I would love to hear from all of you. How are you actually measuring psychosocial risk and well-being in an organization? Because we can have all the interventions, but it's like kind of like losing weight or becoming stronger. You kind of want to have all of your measurements in place as well. If you could share specifically, like Genevieve, what kind of questionnaires are you using to assess psychosocial risk? So if you don't mind, if you could be very specific, what are you measuring in the workplace? Are you measuring psychosocial risk, or are you measuring well-being? If you're measuring whatever you're measuring, could you please state what you're measuring and how you're measuring it, okay? If it's a questionnaire, which specific questionnaire? If it is a generic questionnaire, just say generic questionnaire. Yeah, please put it on the chat function. We aren't yet. Alrighty, thank you, Samantha, for saying that. Engagement surveys like Gallup, okay. So we're trying to measure psychosocial risk, and we're using engagement surveys, for example, right? Like, it's kind of, you're wondering whether what you're measuring, what you're asking measures what you're hoping for generic. And then Samantha, thank you for your honesty. You do not have one yet, but you are nonetheless, I guess, using other assessments like employee satisfaction. Very good. Genevieve, if you could just share a little bit more what SPSS and Cohen had an NFR in long form, that could help all of us, I guess. I teach this subject in a 3rd level college in Ireland. Go Ireland! Yep, sorry, go ahead.
PSS is Perceived Scale, stress scale from Cohen, 1983. Is a psychologist in the US. Is very easy. 10 or 14 questions. It depends of the template, and it works all around the world. It has been experimented since a long way, so that's easy for us. And we complete it by HAD, an hospital anxiety and depression scale, to measure, if we can do it, a level of anxiety and a level of depression. And then we use need for recovery is to measure fatigue and harassment. But this is for health professional only. In the as Gallup I have seen, we also use engagement survey at the group level, and using some questions from the engagement survey, and we make a well-being indicator from this question regarding collaboration, management, objectives, workload, recognition, and so on. That's it for us. Gotcha. And we also are able to use a scale, a visual analogic scale. you know, from this point to this point, how to feel. And when we are above a point, we understand we are overstressed.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you so much for sharing. I just want all of you to be very clear about what you're actually measuring for. And you can use any assessment tool as long as you're very clear about the outcome that you really want. What is the outcome that you really want? I won't go into my opinions because I have a lot of opinions about measuring anxiety, depression, and stress. I'm going to try as much as possible not to go into any of my opinions. I'll try to make this as evidence-based as possible because, yeah, I think it's a bit dangerous to get into opinions right now. So what are the different types of interventions? We're going to talk a little bit about that and maybe the outcomes from the studies and experiments that we've had all of last year and this year from taking different teams. And just like a couple of our friends over here, you've got different types of techniques like stress reduction. You've got all different types. I'm just going to share with you what has worked with us and for us across different teams that we experimented with. Specifically, I think it was 10 teams last year. We've done close to about 20 teams this year, but I'll share with you last year's results. What is the success rate of our tools, not our tools, but the tools that are used for measurement and interventions? And maybe from here, what is a call to action? I really, really could love that all of you continue to engage on the chat function as I'm going along. Please feel free to ask any questions. So again, my name is Hazel. All of you can kind of connect with me and please do on LinkedIn after this session if you like, yeah? So I don't want you to kind of read all of this. So I'm going to cancel this for a second. There are two standards that we are trying to subscribe to for to meet our goals. So in OPSYCH, we want to score some goals with regards to psychosocial risk and well-being. And the big goals that we want to be scoring is number one, minimize as much risk, and the other one is maximize well-being. In terms of minimizing psychosocial risk, are you aware, have you heard of something called ISO 45003? So ISO 45003, let me put it in the chat function. ISO 45003 is a standard. Excellent, Samantha, very good. It's basically a standard that is some kind of gives you guidelines for and the guidelines are all with regards to the principle that it is the duty of organizations to minimize the amount of risk that they put employees or individuals under, because the more and more you get stressed out, the more risk there is that to you, the more injuries and more likely that you're going to impact other people. So in terms of psychosocial risk reduction, we follow ISO 45003. I'm just going to show you very quickly what it looks like in a 2x2 matrix. And in terms of increasing well-being, we are looking at WHO, World Health Organization Sustainable Goal 3, which is about how everybody should have the rights to be well. So this is the 2x2 matrix that we are using for measurement. I'm going to share with you the exact measurement tools that we are using shortly. So if you look on the left-hand side, it is about how much of risk. So I hope that you can see the numbers over here. We took a long time to design this and think about how best to visualize it so that it is very easy for anybody who looks at it immediately to understand what's going on. Because mental illness is different from mental health. You can be mentally ill and mentally healthy at the same time. You can be at risk and you can be well at the same time. You can be angry and you can almost be happy at the same time as well. Human beings are a little bit interesting that way, and we have different pathways in our brain for different things in our life. So if you look on one side, the vertical is called psychosocial risk. If you go up this, it shows that you have lower psychosocial risk. And this is psychosocial well-being. If you go up, it is having higher well-being. Now at OPSYCH, which is the company that we run, we follow the 80-20 rule, and we also try to make it as basic as possible, meaning you look at children, for example. How much of risk would you be willing for your child to go through in their schools? Would you be willing for them to go through 10% risk, 20% risk, whatever? And how well do you want your children to be? And the same thing in the workplace as well. So at OPSYCH, what we are finding, unfortunately, is that ISO and WHO give guidelines, but they don't tell us where it is healthy and where it is not. And so what we're using right now is something called the 80-20 rule, based out of many conversations with people, like where should we be at? So as long as we're 80% healthy and we minimize the risk, what helps is then, imagine if you are like a soccer team and you're trying to score goals. You want to reduce the amount of drama on the pitch and you want to be as well as you can to keep scoring the goals. Ultimately, organizations, I'm sorry, but I don't think organizations exist for well-being. I think organizations ultimately exist to score goals, but how we do it has to be well and has to be better and better and better. So organizations still want to score goals at the end of the day. Otherwise, they're probably never going to exist after that. And fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure, well-being has become the centerpiece, but then business leaders are like, we still need people to kind of, perform, right? Can a company be certified according to ISO 45003? There are ways that I think are happening right now. I'm not sure how they've done it, but right now there is a psychiatric hospital in Dubai that has gotten, they were the first to be certified according to ISO 45003. But when I spoke to a representative in ISO 45003, they said that they are not certifying companies at this stage at all. However, OSIC, for example, we have taken all the guidelines, we are using our measurement tools, and we are assessing, checking, and we are already upskilling people to do this because it's taking too long for this to hit the masses. And I also don't believe, I'll mince my words, I don't believe that it is about being certified necessarily according to certain specific things. I think it is about understanding everything, applying it, and then seeing what is the best way for everybody to learn this. So in a way, I think the experimental approach did work, but I did go for an ISO 45003 certification course. So maybe not the company, but you can definitely apply for, I think it's a one-day program with ISO 45003. I was really lucky because they kept kind of canceling the classes. Maybe they didn't have enough people attending, but I'm doing a good job promoting them right now. So please do sign up for one of those. And then maybe as a practitioner, I would definitely recommend that maybe you get in touch with practitioners like, for example, ourselves, and get yourselves to maybe understand how it is successfully being done with organizations, if at all. We've experimented or done this with organizations such as Petronas, who is with us today. We have a very close relationship with them, and they have been absolutely amazing with regards to figuring out what is the best approach and giving long-term. So we've done it for almost about 3 to 4 years now. So there's enough evidence to say what is working and what is not working. I shouldn't talk about Petronas first. I should go through all. We've worked with airline companies. We've worked with Google. We've worked with Puma, universities, pharmaceuticals, telco, so on and so forth. And we're finding that it's not the same experience for everybody, but we are finding that they're very, very similar trends. So let's get to how we do this. First and foremost, we have an assessment, and there are 2 assessments, okay? Please continue to chat with me on the chat function if there's any questions at all. So 2 assessments that I'm talking about would be psychosocial risk and well-being. We have combine both and just called it psychosocial power, because if I don't have too much of drama and I feel really good, I probably am more powerful to get certain things done in my life as well. So we've just termed it psychosocial power. I'm going to share with you exactly how you can do your assessments if you want to as well. Once we get the assessments, we do a translation, meaning we try to understand very quickly. We look at psychosocial power, but as psychologists, we're also looking at 3 other things: personality of the group, we're looking at psychosocial safety in the group, and we're also looking at self-esteem of the group as well. I won't go into too much detail. I'll stay as much as possible in psychosocial power today. We come up with interventions, typically only 3 types of interventions that I'll share with you later, and then we evaluate whether or not the interventions work after 1 month. And what we do is we get as many people back together for the team that has gone through it to share learning with everybody. Obviously, I would be there to also share the learning, but the most important people who have something to share are the people who have gone through the interventions. And yeah, there's some amazing people who take this so seriously and have not only created a better team. Sure, I can definitely share that with you, not a worry. Alrighty, so instructions to download the app. You may not have access to it right now. I'm not going to share with you the instructions. Let me just show you the experience of using the app. It is super, super simple. And we have spent a lot of time observing how people use this and constantly updating the experience. So this is the OSIC app. Welcome to OSIC. We don't only have psychosocial power assessments, we have all kinds of different types of assessments, but I'm going to scroll down to psychosocial power. Psychosocial power consists of 54 items. I know that sounds very long, but I think if you want to do a full body checkup, you go to a doctor, you probably want to walk away with something really substantial. And this is the minimum that we could. However, if you want to do just psychosocial risk, that is 40 items. And if you want to do just well-being, it is 14 items. Before we get into this, the two that we worked with for this would be, number one, Professor Corey Keyes, who has made the concept of flourishing and languishing super famous. So Professor Keyes has come up with a mental health continuum where on one hand, we're looking at how healthy you are. We're not looking at mental illness at all. That's why I'm going to reserve my opinion on measuring anything related to mental illness, though we do look at stress, we do look at burnout as well. So the two tools today, number one, when it comes to psychosocial well-being, we are using Professor Corey Keyes' 14-item mental health continuum. And the second tool that we use for psychosocial risk mitigation is the Copenhagen Psychosocial Risk Assessment tool, which is publicly available. And we have, through this, we have collaborated with both parties, if not all parties that are on our app, to seek for permission to be able to utilize it for research purposes, and then also to be able to support anyone and everyone who would like to jump in on the journey with us as well. So then you click on Let's Begin, and you go through this and you do up until 54 items. We do a fun thing when people are doing this. We get them to kind of be mindful about how they're breathing when they do this, because we don't want them to go through more stress while they're completing an assessment. Alternatively, we break it up into psychosocial risk, which is psychosocial well-being, and we do psychosocial risk, which is somewhere else here. Once you're done, you get your results straight away and you click on it, and I will share with you the two components later and the results that we've gotten across our demographics. The first graph that you get, which is all of this over here, is your psychosocial risk report. And the second part is your psychosocial well-being report. And once you're done, when you find out where you are at with flourishing to languishing, you can also then read a guidebook to understand more about it, and also where you are on this 2x2 matrix. And then you can also discover a little bit more. You can have podcast videos and stuff like that. So it's very easy to get it. And this is our first actual, so before even getting to interventions, this is already something that participants have told us has been most helpful for them, because a lot of the data that companies measure employees on, like engagement or satisfaction, these results never come to individuals. These results are, something that don't make sense to individuals on a personal, meaningful, soulful capacity, and they cannot have conversations about themselves. The data goes back to management, and who then has the power to do something about it, and maybe the time to actually do something about it. So what typically happens is that we do these surveys, it goes to management then sits with it, and they don't know how do we actually, the biggest issue for management is how do we translate it and how do we intervene? So it gets stuck over there. Whereas once participants get their own data, they can actually begin to read about it, and they kind of go into our workshops. So either the individual workshops where they get to find out a bit about themselves, what they can do within their control, or they go to the team workshops, which is where the whole team comes together and they create strategies for a better work life for them. I'll share with you what the management report looks like as well shortly. So you complete your assessments. So far, so good, everybody? So far, so good? Is everybody okay so far? All right, awesome. Let's go into sub-factors, okay? So psychosocial risk is made up of many things. Can I ask all of you before you get into it, because I just want to hear from you what you think puts you at risk in the workplace, yeah? So what kind of annoys you on a day-to-day basis in the workplace? And I know that's a difficult question to answer if your bosses are around, but what are the typical things that affect you or keeps you maybe stressed out, and over a period of time it becomes more and more of a frustration for you? So let's go. I'm just going to give this 30 seconds before I show you what are all the 20 factors that we look at. What are the typical things that put you feeling more and more stressed out over a period of time, and it compounds and stuff like that? All right, beautiful. Lack of collaboration. I mean, that's not beautiful, but yes, beautiful that you have answered. Amount of work, Samantha, that is number one. Samantha, that later you'll see that is number 1. Reactions from people, support, ability to openly ask questions, incompetence. Okay, workload. Beautiful. Okay, very good. Let's see if what you're thinking about is represented over here as well. So this is our data from 2021. These are the 20 psychosocial risk components that not only ISO 45003 has put out, but also when you look at Copenhagen's assessment tool, it nicely jives together and produces more or less the same thing, and it significantly represents what ISO 45003 is also talking about. These are some of it. At highest risk, so remember we were talking about 20% risk, so you've got the green bar, which shows maybe we should reduce a little bit of that. Number 1 risk is tempo and work pace, meaning before we go to sleep, we still feel, by the way, if you go on our guidebook, it will give you the details of each one of them. We just didn't want to clutter the slide, yeah? So if you look at tempo and work pace, it means that by the time I sleep, I still feel I have not finished my work yet. It's still ongoing. There's still a lot more things to be done. And it is probably getting to a point where it's getting into my dreams and impacting me. So this is the highest risk factor across not only one particular organization or the other, but across all organizations that we assessed in this particular case study of 786 people last year. Okay, all right. Then we have something called self-rated health, which is something that we tap into in a while on well-being. And then the second one, which Lina has spoken about earlier, is about psychological safety, or rather, in this one, we talk about it as, or the label is called influence at work, aggressive deadline, sexism. Thank you guys. Just coming up on the chat function for me right now. So the third one is influence at work, which basically means I don't feel that I have enough voice to make a difference to the way that work is operating right now. So this is the third highest risk factor at 44%. And then you've got self-rated health and stress, which I feel is more or less the same thing. If you look at the definition of it, self-rated health is how healthy I feel. Stress is how stressed out I feel. To me, it's kind of measuring not the same thing, but something very similar. The fifth one, which I think is very, very valuable, is something called organizational justice and respect, which means that I don't feel that the way that we're working is justified and that I don't feel necessarily respected in this role, or rather there is a 42% risk of experiencing that on a day-to-day basis, which is very, very high, which I think is one of the reasons why there is like a march towards freedom. I'm not saying that the Great Resignation exists everywhere, but it has become a trending topic. And then you've also got the quiet quitting, which is I'm at work, but I'm quietly have already resigned from the organization, or I'm starting to look out for other jobs. Then you've got quantitative demands as well, which is workload, not only work pace, but workload. I believe very, very strongly the prediction in the past 3 years, the trends that we've looked at, tempo and work pace has been the same, if not increasing. I believe that tempo and work pace is the slowest that it is today than it will ever be, because human beings like you and I, we just want everything really, really fast and now. We also measure offensive behaviors. For those of you like Laura, for example, when you measure sexism, it is measured under offensive behaviors, which comes under general offensive behaviors, unwarranted sexual attention, physical violence, verbal abuse, and bullying in the workplace. So that's about 1% right now. That's 1% too many. So if you look at 1% over here, it would be about 7 to 10 people, close to 7 to 10 people because it's rounded off. Right. So what I really think is awesome, that I think if you double click into, you look at what is going well. People love their jobs, right? They find so much meaning in their jobs. And what surprises me is when during town halls, when I listen to CEOs or when I listen to like leaders and they talk to their, their team members, you must find, yep, Lina, we're going to share a little bit about gender and age, but I'd like you to guess before I show it to you, okay? All right. So what I really love over here is the meaning of work, which a lot of times when I'm listening to how leaders communicate in town halls or meetings with their team members, they often say, guys, we got to have purpose. We have to have meaning in our work. I think we can safely say we don't have to do that anymore, because people find their own meaning to it and they're doing really well, at least in this demographic. But also not only this demographic, because it's aggregated, and the back-end data that we have, which is about 3,000, we're finding meaning of work is the lowest risk. People have meaning in their jobs. People love their jobs. that was shocking for me. People really love their jobs. And we find that often we'll say, oh, leaders should be more supportive, blah, blah, blah. But this data shows otherwise, that leaders are actually very supportive. Now, if you look at quality of leadership, that is another issue. And whether you feel justice and respect, it's different. You feel they're supportive, but sometimes there's still no justice in the system. You feel they're supportive, but maybe the quality and the competence is not quite there. So that's really interesting for me, because maybe that's not the problem. Maybe the problem is not that we're not getting enough support. Maybe we should get more support for sure, but maybe that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is we are not having a relationship where we can talk and influence and negotiate with each other. Because although there is support, I don't feel I can speak up and tell you what it is that I need to, which is why I guess where Lina was talking about psychological safety. But also there's a misrepresentation of what psychological safety is. Psychological safety is not only the feeling that you're safe to speak up, but a shared belief that when two people say something to each other, they're going to use that in the best of light for bravery and for innovation and for new possibilities. So it's not just feeling safe to speak up. There's a lot more to psychological safety, which is super cool, super cool stuff. And trust as well. We think trust is like a massive issue, but in the data that we have, at least on an aggregated basis, this is trust in management. So that's also the least of our issues. Possibilities of development is also some of the least of our issues. But the major thing that came up for me over here is influence at work, because tempo and workplace, I think, is here to stay. That is nobody's fault. We can control it, but we need to be able to influence the ability to control it. And right now that's not happening. And then also organizational justice and respect. Later, maybe if I share with you what happens when we do workshops. Earlier, we used to do workshops for individuals, and we tried to mitigate risk and increase well-being in workshops called Winning Your Inner Game. Winning Your Inner Game is all about how do you fight the demons within you, how do you focus on what you can control, and how do you score as many goals in a world that you decide is good for you inside of you. But after they attend the program, they will say, I think my boss should attend this program. If the bosses attend, they will say, I think the subordinate should attend the program. So we thought, why don't we bring them together? Because obviously they should be talking to each other. And so we started something called the team retreats, or basically team discovery or extreme teaming, where we get teams together and we get them to have conversation. And there you'll see nobody really wants to say anything, but the way that we design it is kind of cool. And they begin to have conversations with each other that probably have been buried deep down for about 7 months, 8 months, 12 months, 10 years. And they finally get it out and they realize, oh my God, why did I take so long? It was really not that hard to have this conversation. But also context makes a huge difference, because we really make sure that the context is set so that everybody can do that. So this is about psychosocial risk across industries. If you do ever work with us, what we do for you as well is that we will put a red arrow and a green arrow to show you how much you are above the average or below the average. Of course, you want to be below the average because you want to have less risk. So moving on to well-being, if that's okay. I know I'm like running with my sharing, but anything that you want to say before I move forward? Is everybody clear? Any questions at all? It's very nice when you do your own assessment. It makes a lot more sense to you. I remember what I do sometimes is that I just go randomly to a bar and I ask people whether they're interested in doing assessments. And I offer to buy them a drink. And of course, then they're like, yeah, okay, if you buy me a drink, I'll do that. So when they do it, then they start to have a chat about it. And this is different from being in the workplace. There was once when I did the assessment, both the psychosocial risk and well-being, and I was at a bar. Of course, once you hear the story, you'll probably be like, why is the person at the bar? So it was a lady, and I was having a chat with her. And when she did her well-being, so I was like having a chat with her about well-being. Her well-being scores were very low. And I was like, what's going on? And she was like, okay, actually, I'm pregnant. And I have not told anybody yet. I just found out this morning. I just want to have my last beer because I'm never going to have one again. And the idea behind doing this assessment is not about going to the bar or drinking. That's not the point of it. The point of it is that once you look at your data, you begin to become, not you, but generally there is this curiosity about what does this mean for me as well. So I'm not promoting that, but I just wanted to share with you that it's kind of cool when you begin to just have a soulful conversation about what's going on in your life and how does this make sense for you. So we combine this with well-being. So sometimes I find that with a particular person, because during workshops, we kind of go around, we look at everybody's results, everybody has chat. Sometimes for some people, the risk scores are very high, very, very high, but the well-being score is also very high. And these are people who I find very interesting. Like, there's so much drama in your life, but you're also coping really well. Tell me more. The ones that I love the most, of course, the ones to learn the most from is very low drama and very high well-being. So when you go around and you see this, so I just want you guys to like tell me, okay, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a really funny thing that I've observed recently. I'm going to ask you a question, see whether you get it as well. So this is about well-being. We are only assessing according to Professor Key's interpretation of flourishing and languishing. When you're looking at emotional well-being, social well-being, and psychological well-being, though I think financial well-being should be here, I'm not sure whether we have looked into a tool that measures that, and I'm not sure whether we are ready to go into that, because that may or may not be something that we can control in the workplace. But I think that's because financial well-being has so much to do with your overall well-being. I think it's
getting earlier and earlier phone calls from you.
Sorry? Oh, cool. Samantha, you did. Brilliant. Good job, you. Yay. Okay, good. So there's well-being here. I feel that I can hear somebody in the back end, but yeah, that's gone now. Cool. So this is well-being overall across the board, across all organizations right now, all of them. Social well-being scores are the lowest. Social well-being score is not about how you are experiencing the social world within the company, but how you're viewing the entire world, including your organization right now. What is your lens about the world right now? And unfortunately, the scores for how we view the lens outside is the lowest right now. And to me, it's very alarming, because if you view the world as a place that you feel is not well, I think it's a mirror, right? Like, it's like the outer world and the inner world and stuff like that. And I think when we have conversations around this, the world has become so big right now because of social media. So one very quick tip that we often use for increasing social well-being scores straight away is to make your world smaller. So imagine that your world is just made up of about 15 people to start with, and you do good and you allow good to come to you. And this is an experiment that I did in where I live. During the pandemic, my well-being scores was really, really bad. And after doing the assessment by, this flourishing, languishing assessment, I was like, okay, I got to do something. So I just said, I don't want my world to be so big anymore. I don't want to watch social media. I don't want any of that. I'm okay on LinkedIn because it's professional, but the rest of it, I want to eliminate. So I just started giving out food to 15 people in my condo. And within about 15 days, I had 15 meals coming back. And I'm not saying that, it's about food, but it was just so much of overwhelming love that came back when you give to your own small world and they give back to you. And at that point in time, I still thought that the world was a little bit, painful to kind of experience, but my world was awesome. And my social well-being scores increased drastically as well. So then you've got emotional well-being and you've got psychological well-being. Emotional well-being, psychological well-being tend to have similar scores, but I've met many people who have very different scores, such that their emotional well-being is psychologically, they feel everything is not good, I don't have the capacity, but emotionally, they find a way to make peace with it. Especially in countries where, again, I'm not promoting any of this, yeah, but countries where spirituality or religion is very important, emotionally, they find a way to make peace with what is going on, because acceptance is very much part and parcel of certain religious practices. I'm not religious myself. I'm just saying that that's something that I found out as well, because we also do something called emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. We're mapping out how the data kind of correlates as well. So already, my dear friends, I just want to share with you something super cool that I realized after doing this for like 3-4 years, specifically on psych risk and well-being. When I'm looking at people's data, they're usually holding a phone, okay? So I'm giving you a hint. It's something that happens somewhere above your elbow to your hand. So all I'm doing is I'm looking at their hands as they show me their phones, and I'm looking at their psychosocial risk scores and their well-being. And every time I notice that the person has low risk and high well-being, I notice that they're wearing something in their hand. Guess what they're wearing? Okay, this is opinion, okay? This is not evidence-based because I've not done a proper study on it, but I've noticed this enough of times already. A ring, okay, like marital ring, a ring, no. Fitbit, maybe that makes us more stressed out. Everyone's an owner, right? I don't know whether we are practitioners of Fitbit, right? Okay, what else? It's just something interesting that I found. And then I started an Excel spreadsheet. Now I'm gonna start looking at it a bit more. So what they wear, what I tend to find is that they wear all these beads, you know, beads like with stones on them, jade, or like, you know, I don't know, they've gone somewhere, they're starting to learn about energy. And I don't know, they must have gone somewhere like gemstones or whatever it is. I'm not saying it's true or not true, but these people who probably wear them are very actively warding off bad energy in their life. And it is likely that they would have gone through enough of bad things in their life that they believe anything right now. And they want to make sure that they protect themselves from bad things, and they want to be in good shape as well. So that's just like an interesting thing that I found. I'm not saying it's true, not true. I'm not proposing that you buy beads at all. I just think that when I speak with them, I ask them, when did they start wearing it? Why did they start wearing it? What do they believe in it? And they tell me that, oh, I went through something really bad. I feel like I really need to believe in this thing called energy and da 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 da. And I want to make sure that I protect my energy. I want to keep my surroundings good. I want everything to be good in my life. La 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 la. So they're pretty much like practitioners in their own way of warding out bad things and keeping themselves I guess happy and healthy. We've also looked at psychological safety. If you could help me out here, since you did your assessment, did I give you guys access to psychological safety? Because if you want to, you can do that assessment as well. Right. So we are also looking at psychological safety, but I'm not going to talk about that too much today. I think there's a lot to cover. Okay, great. That's good. And I believe then I would have given you guys access to personality and maybe self-esteem as well, because there's a nice story that have come out from all of that. Not power. Oh no. That's all right. You guys can get in touch with us. We'll just give you a demo and you can do that on your own as well. Okie dokes. We may have thought it would be too much for you guys to just maybe just get the ball rolling. So what do we do from here? The three things that we kind of do from here. Number one, we would get companies then to say, all right, do you want to just assess everybody in the whole company, and then we start doing benchmarking? The second thing is that we run one of two workshops. One workshop will be where individuals come in and learn about this and normalize the experience of talking about risk and well-being, and also know your own interventions. But the thing that has become really, really popular now is getting teams together. And when teams come together and they assess themselves, then we do three things, which I'll share with you later. The three things that we are focused on is what can the managers do, what can the teams do, what can individuals do. So we maximize the lever of control. Everybody can do something to begin this process of reducing risk and increasing well-being. Now, the beauty of it is that it has so much benefits. I'm going to share with you maybe some success stories later. People negotiate for salaries, then people negotiate for longer contracts, people negotiate for coffee machines, people negotiate for better lighting conditions, people negotiate to co-share facilities with vendors or contractors rather than being isolated, people negotiate for not having emails over the weekend, people negotiate with themselves to stop watching Netflix until midnight to give themselves a better life. All kinds of like opportunities come out from this, and everybody, more importantly, has a great laugh about how everybody contributes to drama and how everybody also has the opportunity to take control and make everything much better for themselves and the people around them. We combine this with breathing. We combine this with our superpower technique on visualization. That is one of the most valuable things that we teach. We do a 5-part series, which is thank you, sorry, I need you, I can help you, and the greatness that I see in you. We do 5 things. It is the hardest thing for people to do, to say sorry and to say thank you within teams, but we don't force anyone. We just say, if you want to, you can. And we facilitate it in the most soulful kind of manner. And the third thing is to upskill more and more people. Like, for example, on the 28th to the 30th of November. Or is it October? Okay, I will check on this one again. I thought it was, okay, it's either October or November. Sorry for this one. We have been going back or forth, but this is also facilitator intervention training so that we have a lot of partners in the organization and all of us can facilitate together and we can lean on each other because there are many, many teams to go through as well. Right. To the fun part, Lina's part. All right, so outcomes of studies, gender. So who do you think has more risk and lower well-being, female or male? Who do you think has higher risk and lower well-being? Male. Ooh, interesting. Female. Male. All right, okay, so let's go. Are we ready? All right, drum roll, and the first one. So this is, okay, we have it here. So this is by gender. This is how we kind of compare things, but anyway. So that's the average over here of sorts across the organization. Let's look at female and male. Male have less risk and higher well-being. Male, I have to go to the next meeting. Oh, Samantha, please be in touch to send me a LinkedIn message. I've had a lovely time connecting with you. So males higher risk and lower well-being. Let's look at age. What do you think about age? The younger you are or the older that you are? Who experiences more risk and lower well-being? Which age group? You can unmute as well, okay? Let's make this more fun because this is younger, elderly. So where are we at, right? Which is why it's always good for organizations to do a whole entire benchmark study rather than doing small teams. Then you kind of have a proper demographic as well, because otherwise we really don't know where it is. Here's something really cool. Please do give me an idea about why this might be the case, okay? No, this is not. Sorry. This is age. I hope you didn't see that. I really hope you didn't see that. So age, if you look 18 to 19-year-olds, we are here. Then 26 to 35 here. Above 55 here. But forget about the above 55s for a little bit because it's 13 people only. So it's pretty much in ascending order of age. 18 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45, 46 to 55. So as you grow older, life becomes probably a bit better, or rather less risk and more well-being, until after 55, then you go backwards again, according to this data anyway. So it has to do with life experience. You're so right. Is it Riska? Do I say Riska or Mattia?
Yeah, Matthias.
Matthias? Okay, thank you so much for that. You are allowed one time to call me by the wrong name, okay? So it's interesting. So tell me, could you guys make sense for me, okay? How is it that we're going upwards and then by the time we hit 55, we go backwards? What's happening over there? If this is true, because our sample size is only 13 for this one, we need more, but typically we don't have too many above 55s that we deal with. It has to do with life experience. Matthias, do you want to quickly share? What is in your mind right now?
Yeah, it's yeah, of course. It's just my personality. I know that when I was younger, I had my depressions. I was much more at risk to get depressed, you know. And we say age. I'm 50 now. I have the experience and an opinion that it's that I'm less at the risk to get depressed, you know, to have issues, mental issues, and so on.
Mm. Well done, and congratulations to you for fighting whatever it is that happened. And then putting yourself on a journey to get better and to be more resilient. Good job, you. And you're absolutely correct, because what we have found out is that the younger you are, or rather in the 18 to 25 age bracket that you can see, this is a lifespan or a life stage, of many first times. It is probably your first potential marriage, because people get typically married over here in Malaysia by the time you're 24. It is your first marriage or your first very, very serious relationship. It could also be your first time that you're entering the world of work. It is the first time that you're trying to prove to your parents that, I mean, Asia, it's all about proving something to your parents and not bringing shame to the family. First time that you're trying to prove that you're somebody to your family. It is the first time that you're probably trying to begin to think, how am I going to get out of the house and find my own home? It is a stage of many firsts, compounded with many things. So at least 7 times you're experiencing things for the first time, and it's very, very overwhelming. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's the snowflake generation. They're so soft. They're so, you know, they got snowflake, strawberry, and all of that stuff. But the studies that have come out shows that it is even decades after decades after decades, it is typically this demographic that is most vulnerable. But unfortunately, by the time we become 40, we forget how difficult life was when we were younger. So we keep saying, oh my God, just get on with it. I'll give you a very quick example. Won't try and not take too long. It is a personal example, but it's also about forgetting how painful life can be or life was for you when you were a bit younger. So my sister just gave birth. Such a beautiful story between Lena and my sister, actually, both. Yeah, my sister just adores your story, Lena. So my sister had a baby after maybe about 10, 12 years of trying. And she was finding it very, very difficult to breastfeed. And she also, you know, she's, you know, a high flyer. She works in an awesome company. She's doing really well for herself. She's a mom now as well. And she was finding it very difficult to breastfeed. And my mom was having a private chat with me, and my mom was like, oh my God, you know, in our time, it wasn't one child. We had 3 children, we had in-laws, we had all of that. You know, your body just, you know, you've got no time to think whether you can breastfeed or you can't breastfeed. You just breastfeed, right? Whereas my sister was going for a training on breastfeeding, and she was getting consultation. She had a coach. She had all of that stuff. The younger parents now have, you know, a need, I guess, to have somebody to talk to about this very difficult space called both working and also being a new parent, because both parties are working right now as well. So anyway, whatever it is, she couldn't really. So I asked my mom, I'm like, really, it wasn't hard for you? Let's kind of double click back on it. So think about me and my brother and my sister and how you had to breastfeed us and how you had to look after everything. How did you really feel? And she was like, I was okay. I got on with it. And in psychology, we never like to use the word okay, not okay, good, not good, because we don't know what that really means. So I said, no, how do you really feel? No worries, Margaret. Please do keep in touch. I think we're supposed to, it's 8:30, right? Is it 7 to 8:30? Lena, or?
Yes.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay, alrighty, cool. So when I double clicked on it, my mom took a long time to answer this, but eventually she said, actually, it was so painful for her and it was such a difficult time for her. And the reason why she has never told us to get married or have kids was because she understood how difficult it was. But yeah, she just forgot that it was that difficult. She did. So sometimes we do forget how difficult it is as well. All right, let's get to the next one. And then you've got hierarchy as well. Hierarchy. So who do you think has the highest risk and who do you think has the lowest risk, well-being, etc.? Who do you think is most vulnerable in hierarchy in organizations? Do you think it's the people at the top, the people at the bottom, people in the middle? Who do you think is experiencing the highest risk, lowest well-being? Any guesses? You can unmute and share straight away. Who do you think has the highest risk and the lowest well-being, Lena, or anyone? Yeah.
Peter, I think it's the low middle. I think.
Low middle. Higher hierarchy, lower risk. Good job. Okay, they did studies on animals as well. I'm not comparing us to animals, but they did do that. The higher up you are on hierarchy, the lower risk you actually experience in your life. So you're right, Matthias. Very smart man here. And let's go. So if you look at general managers, they are they are the highest well-being, but not necessarily the lowest risk, but highest well-being over here. Highest well-being, and the second lowest in terms of risk would be general managers and above. Next, you have, then you go down the line. You just keep going down the line until you meet the non-executive secretaries and others, who I don't know the others are in this particular data. but they have the lowest risk, but also the lowest well-being, potentially because these may be roles where you have to take care of everybody else around you, or you could be lower salaried staff. So yeah, I mean, generally interesting stats over here, but best that you do it within your own teams or your own department so that it makes the most sense or it is the most accurate for your own organization. And then what we do as well, what we did in 2021 was we put 9 teams together and we looked at all of them and where they were doing. And then you have group 3 over here who's just like hanging out very close to the smiley face, and the rest of them somewhere in the middle, and then a couple more towards the bottom. But what this does for teams, when teams can see this, is that teams then want to compete on creating a better workplace. They really want to get better and better and better. Social comparison for a good cause is a good thing. So once we did the interventions, which is again the benchmarking, or you go in for individual retreats or team retreats, or their certifications. But in this case, we did the team retreats. During the team retreats, we talked about bringing the team together. What can management do? So management sits down there, everybody specifies one small thing that the manager, the leader can do that is within the manager or the leader's control that would create a better work life for everybody. And what's interesting was that the highest vote went into please plan better. Please plan better. So the next thing that we do also is what can we do as a team that we are currently not doing? We don't even need our leader. If we did it on our own, work and life would be much better. And that was improving conversation, having more conversations with each other, because everybody was waiting for HR to create engagement sessions. Everybody's waiting for managers to create engagement sessions. Nobody's actually picking up the phone and calling each other, talking to each other, creating their own network of net worth within the organization. And what can you do for yourself that is within your control? Again, time management, prioritization, planning is very important as well. Speaking up was the next highest one with 19 votes in this particular study that we had done as well, okay? We collected success stories. During the session itself, when you bring all the teams together, we asked them like, what happened for you? So because there's a lot of vulnerability, one person said, for example, I did not know that through my behaviors, I was impacting other people. I really want to apologize for the challenges that I've created for other people unknowingly. Connectedness, this is the most common thing that I hear. I didn't know that everybody's struggling with similar challenges. I wish we had just picked up the phone, spoke with each other, and it would have been resolved a lot sooner. Focusing on what you control, this is another one, like, okay, let's stop thinking about what is out of our control. Within our control, there's so many things that we can actually do, and that's valuable. Team effort, the team becomes really strong after that. There's a lot that we do around creative stuff like singing, dancing, role plays. I mean, we do as much creative as possible because we want everybody to ultimately create expression out of themselves and not just logic. What I love the most is that everyone recognizes that they can contribute to fixing a problem and that all of us can do this together. It's not individual, not team, not leadership. And hashtag not just HR. They're always relying on HR. HR is always the butt of the jokes over here. But yeah, we make sure that that never happens again. Sense of hope. A lot of them think that there was not necessarily no hope, but that what's the point of talking about things? Nothing's gonna really change. But within the session itself, we encourage everybody to take action immediately rather than saying, oh, thanks for the chat, but not doing anything about it. And systemic changes as well. So in one particular negotiation session, influencing session that we had, contract staff that were there were able to finally negotiate contracts that were originally, historically for the past 10 years, maybe 6 months contract. In that session, they were able to negotiate for a 2-year contract going forward. So systemic changes that have been in the organization like a dinosaur, or maybe not yet had the time, the energy, or the courage to change it, happened during that session because the right people were there and they could make that decision for that team at that point in time. So there was like a big, huge hurrah. During the pandemic, people who had not been able to see their families during the session itself, of course, at that time, we did it all online. They were able to negotiate how they could get small batches of people to go back to see the families and come back where for a long period of time, they had not made that decision yet. So wonderful systemic changes. We also then measure, what happens after that. But this is our biggest pride, because after a month, we go back, we get everybody to do psychosocial power. And if you can see the arrows, this is how they're moving. And we bring all the teams together, and we don't talk about where you are at, but we do something called wisdom of the crowd, which is how in the world did you do so well? Because even if I want to lose 1 kilo, I've been trying to lose a kilo for so long. But these people actually created some amazing momentum. And the average, by the way, of all of these 9 teams divided by 9, the average movement forward was close to about 5% upwards, which brought them significantly closer to the smiley face. So we got them to just open up and share what is it that helped them to get better after a month. And some of the teams said we actually didn't do anything. We're all just better. Pretty much after the session, we haven't really done anything much. But if you can look at this green team over here, the 2 green teams, they have grown the most. So we asked them what did they actually do, and they actually implemented systems of reducing drama and increasing well-being as a conversation that they have systemically every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, the boss will ask, what can I do to reduce drama for you? And what can I do to make you feel better? And that's it. They took almost just about 7 minutes. That the managers or the leaders in these 2 groups, they took 7 minutes bi-weekly just to ask that question and conclude whatever they could do within the 7 minutes they would do, and then they'll leave the rest of it for bi-weekly. What that did for the whole team was trusting that if we are brave enough to open up and have a conversation, we have now a new experience that something positive can come out of it. So it is worth trying. And with that, just go back to the call of action. So if anybody would like to either get in touch or anybody would like to know what to do, number 1, measure, 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 measure. And measure using the right tool. You can't use a weighing scale to measure your waistline. And if ultimately you want to reduce your waistline, you need to be measuring your waistline. What is it that you really want to measure, and why is it so super important for the organization? It has to jive. It has to have a business as well as a human imperative for it to make absolute sense, so that nobody can say this is not justifiable. Everybody would say, yes, this works for the business. This also works for all of us. The second thing would be to have very, very soulful conversations rather than using big words like psychosocial risk, which is what we do. So interestingly, when we spoke to people around us and we asked them like, okay, guys, we know we are using very big words like psychosocial risk. Can you tell us, I know this is recorded today, so I really hope that everybody is just allowing me to say what I'm going to say right now, because totally true, Alina, what you're saying is totally true. So when I asked someone, I'm like, how do I call psychosocial risk in English? Like in a general layman term, they're like, it's just the shit that happens in the workplace. So I was like, okay, shit. So then when we looked at the 2x2 matrix, I was like, what do you call people in the green zone? They're like, good shit. That's good shit. And then, they call it the shit. These are the shit. So, I mean, they came up with their own ideas of this is bad shit, this is good shit, this is great shit, this is stubborn shit. So they just came up with their own idea of what that meant for them. And I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but having programs that are soulful and we use language that everybody can understand, and it kind of combines both work, life, and ultimately scoring bigger, better goals with the right kind of energy can be quite valuable. What we do is we call this winning your inner game, which is with or without anybody else. How do you sort this out for yourself? And the other one that we do is something called team retreats, which Lena has just put in the chat function. It is important to have decision makers into the team retreat. But sometimes by the time you wait for the whole world, you can't even move. So it's important, I feel, just to get the ball rolling, and then you could always have another session with the decision makers as well. But yeah, I mean, Lena is more right than wrong anyway. And lastly, you can get certified with us and maybe, kind of help us out at some point if we ever need co-facilitators as well. With that, I have been Hetal Doshi. Super duper grateful to be with all of you today, and we open up for questions, and also definitely looking forward to sharing. And I'm going to end my chat. Thank you so much. Apologies for any shortcoming on my part. Apologies for anything that I may have said to hurt anybody. Oh, Lina. Hello.
Yes. I have to bring the drama to the webinar.
Oh, you just put up a smile on my face. Cutie. Alrighty, over to you, Lina. I guess you can facilitate a chat right now. I'm just going to excuse myself for one second while I get some water. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Hetal, for sharing the risks. I would say the approach in managing psychosocial risk and increasing the well-being. Well, I think this is probably my second time looking at it, but in more greater details this time around. I just felt, Hetal, instead of, there are a lot of topics we've heard about psychological risk, talking about the depth, the details, but I think from your sharing, it is more on the assessment. How do we move forward after the risk assessment and things like that? So we have about 10 minutes. I would like to open the floor to any of the participants here, any of the team here to share, ask questions, or share your own feedback. Yeah, please do so. Yeah. Any of our participants would like to share any opinion or any reflection from Hetal sharing or your own experience?
May I ask, just so that we can hear from everybody at the same time, maybe give everybody 1 or 2 minutes. If everybody could put in the chat function what was most valuable for you, or something that you'd like to share with the rest, so that we can hear from maybe about 15 people at the same time. And then should we have a little bit of chance, we just open up the unmic as well, because there's 15 awesome people here.
Yeah, okay.
Awesome. Could everybody take a minute or two to write down what was most valuable for you, and also both, what was most valuable for you, and the second one, what is something that you'd like to share with everybody? Is that correct, Lina?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll just give everybody a minute, and do enjoy your breathing as well while we're waiting for the minute. And then over to you, Lina. You can pick whoever you want after that.
Okay, we start seeing some input from Matthias. Important to measure the individual well-being. Yeah. Thanks, Matthias.
Correct. Maybe one comment from my side. It was really helpful for me to see it, because we had the same question at the beginning of our mental health campaign. How can we convince our leadership team? How can we tell them that there is a need for implementation of this campaign? How can we measure that? We had a simple survey questionnaire, but of course your tools with all the detailed questions are much better. So in the future we would like to use much more detailed specific questions in the questionnaire. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Natalie had to leave. Thank you. Yeah, keep it coming. The reflection, or what is your take from this webinar? What do you like the most?
I think feel free to call out anyone now.
Yeah. Maybe I can ask Jakes, is there something that you'd like to share from your experience? Maybe we try with Saurav Saini. Still there?
Yeah, still there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, actually,
yes,
I think this is a good sharing, because for me this particular concept of how occupational hygienists can be involved in evaluating psychosocial risks and how to I mean, the first thing is basically to evaluate, and then only you can come up with some controls, right? So I think this was an interesting sharing for me to understand how you have different ways in which you could evaluate at your workplace. What are the different kinds of issues that might be there, or risks that might be there. I mean, we always do a lot of surveys, engagement surveys, satisfaction surveys. I think one new thing that I got to know about was also the ISO 45003, which was new to me because I had not heard about this particular, that we also have an ISO standard that talks about how these risks can be managed. Yeah, so I think that was very, very interesting for me in this particular session.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sarah. Perhaps we can have one from Perry. Oh, okay. He's got to
You
leave.
mean from Genevieve?
Yes, Genevieve, you can speak as
Yeah.
well. I was calling Perry.
I was very interested in the questionnaire, and as you know, I did it before, because I had the app. My position is more important to have good practices in management practices, in work-life balance, in individual skills, and so on, than only to make questionnaires. Questionnaires can help. Assessment is the approach we used usually when we are industrial hygienists or when we are doing EHS at work. But in this domain, adopting good practices based on values in our companies and like feedbacks, good management practices are already things we can do before doing these things of assessment. Because, okay, you have to do assessment and assessment and assessment and assessment to each time adapt your answer to the results. That's a very good approach because it's a logical approach. You assess, you make, you manage. But it's necessary to have in our companies a culture based on the ambition to protect mental health of our collaborators. That's my point.
Yeah. Beautiful. Totally agree.
But thank you for all the presentation you have made on this questionnaire and on the app. There are many information on it. They are very well done, and I was impressed by all this job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Genevieve. Just to clarify as well, actually 80% of our job is facilitating for skills, upskilling. It's the app that kind of supports us to begin to have those conversations.
Yeah.
One of the things that unfortunately happens when we try to run workshops is that it becomes very opinion based. And so we can never tell how good a leader is because it's their opinion. And then it becomes difficult to actually figure out, like, how do we make this, data driven of sorts. And so once we had the data, or once rather the data is there, it becomes easy to then make it like it's evidence-based conversation rather than opinions, because there are some leaders that are very good at navigating and making sure that they appear really good on the outside, but there's a lot of drama that's going on in the inside, and we don't know how to kind of extract that as well. So totally agreed that upskilling managers or managerial practices is ultimately the most critical. Yeah, ultimately it's the action, right? Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, thank you, Genevieve. Is there any other comments from any one of you? Okay, Hazel, if there is no further comments, maybe one last word from you, your key message on this topic.
No last word. Just have a great life, everyone. We have only one of it. Have the best life ever, and yeah, just good wishes all around.
All right, Hetal, thank you so much. On behalf of IOHA, I would like to thank you for spending time and sharing the knowledge and your experience in the space of psychological risk and well-being. There's a lot of things we can do together. And I think all of us here share the same passion, and that's why we are still here. And hopefully we are able to make a difference in other people's life and of course in our own family's life as well. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and join in again in our future webinars organized by IOHA. Thanks, Rita, for arranging this. Yeah.
Thank you, Rita.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.